Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, everyone? Okay. So we was talking about, so we covered this yesterday. We've done groundnut oil, extraction of groundnut oil. We started with the systematic position of groundnut. So groundnut belongs to which family? Which family?
Fabaceae.
Fabaceae.
Fabric.
Fabaceae or Leguminosae family. Okay. So and it's what is its scientific name? It starts with A. Anyone can recall? Okay, it's Arachis hypogea. Okay, Arachis hypogea. Okay, right. So now we were talking about the basic morphology of peanuts. Okay, then the fruit type is nut. So it has a hard shell coating around it. So this is something you need to remember. So it has a very characteristic floral pattern. Then otherwise, we spoke about the morphological characters of groundnut itself. And it is an annual herbaceous plant. Its flower is characteristically, it's yellow in color and has reddish veins. So these are some of the things that you should be remembering. And peanut seeds are very characteristic because they have shell, cotyledon, seed coat, radical, plumule. These are the parts, and they look like this. Look at the diagram. So this is what you need to know. And otherwise, you need to know the uses of groundnut. So, use-wise, it is used as food, as animal feed, industrial applications, definitely for production of large-scale oil. Okay, it's used. Then even in the cosmetic industry, it is nowadays used. Then nutritional value is definitely there are a lot of nutritive content in groundnut oil. But for now, you do not need to, you know, 1 second. Is the screen visible? Okay, I think this is better. Yeah, it's little zoomed. Is it fine now? Is it clear to you?
Yes,
Is it
ma'am.
visible? Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you can see there is a lot. There are a lot of nutritive contents, but you do not need to remember each and everything. But all you need to know is yes, it's rich in vitamins, minerals. It has a good fat content, definitely. But then you have to be careful for like the ones who are obese or they have high cholesterol. They should not consume too much of these nuts. But otherwise, if you are fit and fine, you it is advised for everyone, like doctors advise to have nuts each and every day. So it has a very good impact on the health. So this is there. uh, okay, so regarding the extraction process, there's a cleaning process followed by dehulling process, then there is a pressing, and finally the oil is extracted, it is filtered and purified, and it is procured and stored. Fine, that's the sequence. Then we spoke about coconut oil. It is also very highly nutritious. And give me the scientific name of coconut, any one of you.
Fucus nucifer.
Cocos Lucifer.
Oh, yes, absolutely right. It's Cocos nucifera, and it's a very it's Cocos nucifera, and it belongs to the Ericaceae family. So just remember the name of the family as well as the scientific name. That would be sufficient from the systematic position. You need not know so many, hierarchy, this thing in the systematic position. So just knowing the family name as well as the scientific name should be enough for you. Okay, so regarding the health benefits, definitely it's good for cardiac health, like for the heart it is very good. And coconut oil is very much consumed for cooking purposes. You've seen in like specifically in South India, people prefer using a lot of coconut-based products. Okay, be it oil, be it be it cooking, coconut water, coconut milk. So they use all sorts of coconut-based products, and even in it is very religiously also considered sacred in most parts of our country. So definitely you should be knowing all of that. Regarding the so this is the fruit type. So you can see there's a exocarp, which is the outer layer, which is the hard outer layer. There's mesocarp, which is the layer in between, and ultimately you have the endo means inner. Okay, exo means outside. So that is how you should remember the terms. The term exo, the prefix exo means outside or outer. So exocarp means outside, the outer layer, and endo means inner. Okay, so in endocarp means the innermost layer of the fruit body, or here you can see that innermost layer, it is the layer surrounding the seed. So it has basically the coconut water, which is the endosperm actually, and the surrounding meat, which is the semi-solid whitish part of the coconuts that we eat. Okay, so this is what you will find. An extraction procedure is similar to that of groundnut. So here also you do not need to go into much details like de-acidification and all, but you can just remember that the powder is used to start off for the extraction, and from that it is crushed. And cooking means here cooking doesn't mean the kind of cooking we do at home, but here the term cooking is used for crushing, pressing, or the extraction of the oil, I mean the initial phases. So they are cooked, they are pressed. It's better to use the term pressed, because the term cooking can be a little confusing in this respect. But then they are pressed, and followed by, again, the oil is extracted, they're filtered, they're purified, and finally they're collected and stored. And definitely in industrial applications, they are again packaged and they are supplied. Okay, so is it clear so far, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So now we have linseed and brassica also in our syllabus. So linseed is another kind of fatty oil, which you like oil extracted from linseed. It's kind of seed from which we extract, and it belongs to the family Linaceae, and the scientific name is Linum ussi. Usita, this is little tongue twisting. It's okay. So it is Usitatissimum. Okay. So you will have little tough time in knowing the specific epithet, getting used to that. But then you can just write Linum sp. SP is the short form that we use for species, just in case you forget the species name. Okay, so you can just use Linum SP and a dot. Okay, so small sp in small and then a dot. Okay, because it's a huge specific epithet. It's called Usitatissimum. Okay, okay, so that's okay. Okay, so Linum, the genus Linum is similar to appearance. So there are several species in the genus Linum. So it is actually cultivated flax. Its common name is flax seeds, and it is available in the market in the form of flax seeds. So look at the picture here. These brownish, seeds. They look brownish in color, and you will find it in the market. It's very commonly consumed by people nowadays. It's very much trending because it's considered good for health. So these are flax seeds. They look exactly like the picture shown here. So they have bluish flowers, very characteristic bluish flowers. And some of them do have the other species, like in this species has bluish flowers, but there are also other species of Linum which have yellow or even reddish flowers. So morphology of the of the plant will include, like if you are asked to describe the plant, Then you should be writing about its bluish flowers in the major species Ocytacissimum, and as well as the other species which have, you can write that in some of the species it's even yellow or red flowers are present. Besides, the morphological characters include they are perennial in nature. Okay, so and but most plants are perennial, but the Linum Ocytatissimum is actually annual plant. So remember, this is an exception. Okay. Then cultivated flax plants actually grow up to 1.2 meters with slender stem, and the leaves are glaucous green, slender, lanceolate. Okay, lanceolate means you must have you have to recall it in taxonomy. You must have studied lanceolate leaves. Lanceolate means lens-like. Okay, lens-shaped. Okay, so they have lens-shaped leaves. So definitely the flowers are bluish in nature, bluish in color, and they have 5 petals. The fruit is round, dry capsule in nature, and they are containing brown glossy seeds. Okay, so this is also another character of the seeds. They are not only brown in color, but they are very shiny and glossy. So this is another characteristic of flax seeds. Okay. So just remember, morphology wise, 4 characters should be enough to be remembering for the exam purpose, or like for knowing. Okay, so now regarding the oil, next we come to the use of flax seeds. So since I was saying that it is very commonly used in today's world, like in the market, they're available. So like people are consuming flax seeds a lot in these days. So because it's nutritionally very rich again, then it is used because of the shine and texture. It is used as a wood polishing agent. Okay, so wood products, they are polished with linseed extracts from linseed. Okay, so just correlate that, since linseed has a very shiny covering, so therefore it helps, you can correlate like that. It is used to add shine on furnitures or wooden products. So that way you can remember it's one of this use. Then flax seeds is also grown as ornamental plant because of its beautiful, bluish violet flowers. Okay, so it is an ornamental plant as well. So, as the name suggests, linseed, you must have heard about a fiber, like it's called linen. So it's available. It's a cloth type which is available. So which is called linen. So it is used. The flax fibers is used for production of linen. So nowadays we get linen garments. It's actually very soft garment, soft textured garments. So like linen is also, it's a fiber yielded from the flax seeds. So this is another use which you can remember. Okay, so so this tongue twisting specific epithet, that is Ocytatissimum, is actually, it means most useful. Okay, so that is something you can remember. Then flax fibers taken from the stem of the plant are 2 to 3 times as strong as cotton fibers. So they are actually very strong fibers, and therefore they're used for making cloth material, as I already told you about the linen material. Okay, so rest of the things are fine, just for your knowledge. You can go through it. Otherwise, you can also remember that it is used to feed the animals as a livestock feed. So this is another use. Okay. So I think this is all for the uses of flax seeds that you need to know. Regarding the extraction, now the production is again similar, but here what you need to know is there are way, because the seeds here, they're little hard. They are actually small, but they're hard, so therefore they have to be cracked to take out the seeds. So pressing will not be sufficient for them, so there is a cracking procedure in case of linseed oil extraction, which is additional. So they're cracked, they're softened, they're flaked. Then again pressing is done, and then the crude oil is taken out, and then they are again filtered, purified, extracted. Okay. So linseed is clear to you all? Yes? I want everyone to respond, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Okay, please don't doze off because this is important. This part is very important. So you're going to have questions from these parts. So I'm pinpointing the important things so that you know it's even easier for you to remember. So now we come to Brassica. So the Brassica, it's a genus. So here, Brassica is very interesting because each part of the plant is actually what we eat each and every part more or less. So there are six vegetables that are actually, this is a fact. So it's very interesting. So six vegetables that are actually the same plant. Okay, so this is for your general knowledge as well, because look at the plant. So basically, Brassica is the mustard family. So you must be knowing about mustard oil that we use. So while it is actually when we talk about the mustard plant, we mainly focus on Brassica oleracea, which is the most commonest species that is used for extraction of mustard oil. So the same plant, you see different parts of the plant is being eaten for different purposes and in different forms, I mean names. So see, we get broccoli from the same plant, which is actually the flower bud or stems modified. Then there is cauliflower, which is the flower buds. Okay. Then there is kolarbi, which is stem. Then there is kale, which is the leaves. People also call it kale. Some people call it kale. So like you can see, you can pronounce it by whichever form comfortable. So these are actually the leaves which are consumed as salads. Then there is cabbage. So that's actually the terminal leaf bud is called a cabbage of this plant. Then there are Brussels sprouts. So they are the lateral buds. So see, each and every part of the plant is known by different names, and they're eaten as different vegetable. You know. So this is a very important. You can see multi-purpose plant. Okay, so it is the mustard family. So it is easier for you to remember that way. So mustard family is basically Brassica. The genus is Brassica. Okay. So remember in that way, mustard family means it's Brassica family. Okay. So it's like Brassica is the genus. Okay, so the genus is Brassica. Look at the systematic position. So it is coming under the family Brassicaceae. So rest of the things are fine. Of course, you know it is like for all these. Of course, you know they belong to kingdom Plantae. They are tracheophytes. They have tracheophytes. Why? Because they have a developed vascular system. Okay, so the vascular system is defined. So they are tracheophytes. Then they fall under the angiosperms for definitely. Then there are eudicots. Roses, you do not need to know so much of detail, but then definitely the order is Brassicales, the family is Brassicaceae, and finally the genus is Brassica. So of the four which I was teaching, like groundnut, coconut, linseed, Brassica is most important for your from your questions point of view. So make it a point that you know or study it well. Okay. So I'm not repeating this, that like the different parts are used for different purposes. So that will come in under the uses. So if you are asked to write about the uses, then definitely you have so many things to write from about mustard. So another thing is definitely they are oil producing. So the oil producing, their oil is produced either from rapeseed or it's called the mustard seed. Okay. So some forms with white or purple foliage and flower heads are also sometimes grown for ornament. So the leaves here, the flowers here are also whitish, or some are purplish in color. So here they are used for ornamental purpose also. So actually this is very common. If the flower of a plant is very colorful, then definitely we usually prefer keeping them for beauty purpose, for aesthetic purpose. So they can be regarded as ornamental plants. Okay. Right. So this was all about the uses in terms of like food. Now, what about the nutritive content? So the nutrition wise also, it is very useful because it has vitamins, it's rich in vitamins, it has manganese, then it has soluble fiber, and they contain glucosinolates. Okay. So this is very important for you to remember. which are under preliminary research for their potential biological properties when consumed. So a lot of research work is going on that how is this, useful for human health. So as of now, we know that it is nutritionally, it has a very rich nutritional profile. But yes, there are some evidences that they are used, they can be helpful to fight cancers of lungs and alimentary tract. But yes, there still a lot of research has to be done to confirm that yes, this is actually helping the cancer patients. Okay. So mustard oil consumption is considered very healthy. Not too much of it, as all of this have, like as I was saying, in case of coconut, linseed, there are a lot of fat content. So it is not advisable for everybody, or rather for the ones who have high cholesterol level, maybe your parents or even senior people. So it should be consumed in controlled amounts. Okay. So, when we talk about mustard oil, basically there are two different oils that we are talking about. One is a fatty vegetable oil resulting from pressing of the seeds, and another one is the essential oil of mustards, which are resulting from grinding of seeds, mixing them with water, and extracting the volatile oil using distillation process. Okay. So look at this. Now we come to the morphological description. Okay. So if you look at the plant, so this will give you enough hint on the morphology of the plant. Okay. So Brassica napus is the species we are speaking about today. So there are other species as well, but then this is one of the most important one. So it's also called canola or rapeseed, which we are talking about today. And it is okay to remember just this species. So Brassica napus is an annual or biennial species. So the stems are erect, as you can see, very erect stem. So they are not like weak, they're really erect, and they stand erect. They're simple to freely branched. They are glabrous or sparsely hairy. Glabrous means this little swollen with hair present. Okay, but hair not too much of, like, it's sparsely hair is present. Then they can grow up to 1.5 meter tall. Okay, so not they're kind of shrub like in nature, so not very tall, but 1.5 meter is the thing. So then leaves are waxy and with a glabrous underside. That's not required, just know that the leaves are waxy. Okay, so just make points of whatever you can remember, whatever is easy for you to remember. And suppose you just write make notes, like say uses of brassica, and write down in points. Again, similarly, note down the morphological characters of brassica, and then keep points ready, so that just before the exams you do not need to go through the entire slides. You can just go through the notes and you're done. Okay. So inflorescence wise, it's raceme, and flowering begins at the base of the raceme and the buds form above the open flowers. Okay. So raceme type of inflorescence is something followed by this plant, and they have pale yellow flowers with 4 sepals and 4 diagonally opposite obovate petals. Okay. So 4 plus 4. So 4 sepals, 4 petals. Okay. So you can also derive the floral formula from this and remember it in that way. Okay. So the stamens are tetradiaminous, and with 4 long and 2 short stamens in each flower. So 2 of the stamens are long and 2 of them are short. Okay. Sorry, 4 long and 2 short. So there are total 6. So look at this. Look at this figure. You can see that there are 4 long and 2 short stamens. Okay. So whenever you have to remember the characteristics, please go through the images again and again, so that the once you remember the image, then it is easier for you to remember the points. So there are total 6 stamens, of which 2 are characteristically smaller and 4 are larger. Okay. Can you see the picture, or should I can zoom it actually, no? See? Can you see this? Yes? Can you see there are 6 stamens? 4 of them are larger and 4 of
Yes,
them are
ma'am.
shorter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that way you can remember that the characters of this plant. Okay. So now we come to the ovary. The ovary is actually superior in position. So the fruit is linear cylindrical ciliate with slight constrictions at regular intervals and dehiscent valves. So much is not required. Just know that the fruit is cylindrical ciliate. Okay. Fruit type is cylindrical ciliate. Okay, so difference between Brassica napus and other close relatives can be difficult as they may share similar morphological features. So that is why I have picked up Brassica napus, because other species are also similar, more or less similar morphology wise. So if you know this, you actually can identify a Brassica plant from the Brassica genus. Okay. Fine. So this is another. So have you seen a mustard, a field which grows mustard plant? It looks very much like this. Look at the figure. So it is very much like this. So, and I've zoomed in the, floral parts in the, you see the illustration, the botanical illustration. So this, so that it's clear to you. Okay. Again, here also you see the diagram shows that there are 6 stamens, 4 of them are longer and relatively 2 shorter. Okay, so let us go back to the syllabus once. So see, we have completed unit 4, where we have covered general description, classification, extraction, uses and health implications of groundnut, coconut, linseed and brassica. And we have also completed the essential oils general account, extraction methods, and comparison with fatty oils is very important. You must know them, and the uses of different essential oils. So unit 4 is done. Okay, we will definitely revise, don't worry about it, but this is important for your exam purpose. So for the upcoming exams, so please go through this once I upload, and the ones after today's class, please share the video recording immediately so that everyone gets this thing. Okay, so I was speaking about the economically important plants also. We will do a part of this. So now I'll stop sharing this and I will just a second. Okay, so now can you see the screen, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
today we are going to study fiber yielding plants as well. So now these parts are how much I will be able to complete, because I don't think you have a class before next week with me. So I think whatever will be done today will be included in the upcoming exam, and rest we can do it later on. Let's see. Mm, tomorrow we do not have. Okay. Fine. So today, let's see how much we'll be able to do within the time, and then that only that will be there. Okay. So unit 4 is definitely coming for you, but unit 5 maybe parts of it. Okay. So regarding fiber yielding plants, so what are fibers? Why do we require fibers? Anyone? What do you mean by fiber? Roll number 5.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
What do you mean by fiber? Do you have an idea about it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, it's the parts of fruits and vegetables that cannot be digested.
Okay, that's the nutritive part. Otherwise, what are fibers mainly basically used for? Okay, thank you, dear. Roll number 6.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What do you mean by fiber? Why are fibers, extracted from plants? Besides, whatever she said is fine, but then other than that, what do you think you can add to that?
Ma'am, we can use it to make clothes, textile, yes. By using
Textile?
textile industry.
Textile? Yes, very good. Yes, so basically, fiber yielding plants are used for in the clothing industry. Okay, so the fibers yielded from these plants are basically, what are the basic requirements for our survival? So we need food as well as we need shelter, but these are basics, but then we also need clothing, right? So fiber yielding plants are actually very economically important because they help us to yield fibers. Okay, so these fibers will help us produce the clothing that we wear. Okay, so that is why it is very important. So from the name itself you can understand that what's its use. Okay, so this is there. So from the very beginning, so thank you, dear. So from the very beginning of civilization, plant fibers have had a more extensive use than animal fibers. So this could be woolen products, it could be in the form of fur, it could be even silk. So why I chose, because I was showing PPT, but I chose to show you, books, because, practically we are not, because in your bachelor's you should be studying a lot of books, but then since it's online, it's not always possible for you to get books, or issue books from libraries. So therefore I thought of bringing the ebook to you so that you can uh, get the habit of studying books, because books have a lot of information. In presentation we cannot always incorporate a lot of information. You might not require everything for your exam purpose, but you will require, the more you study, the more knowledge you can retain. Okay, so don't always study from the exam point of view, or okay, this is coming in the exam. So many a times, in competitive exams also, if some of you are going for competitive exams after your bachelor's, then you will have to, these economic botany is a very important part that you need to answer questions everywhere for all the competitive exams. It's very common. So you must be retaining it in your head, as not as for exam purpose, but just as a general knowledge, so that you can even pass on to others. Okay, so what about the fiber? So we are going to study about the fiber yielding plants. So we have in our syllabus, we just have the cotton and jute. So we will not be doing others. Okay. So on the basis of utilization, this is just for your knowledge that Hill in the year 1952 has classified fibers into textile fibers, brush fibers, plating and rough weaving fibers, filling fibers, natural fabrics, and paper making fibers. So fibers also have immense importance in paper industry. Okay, so they're used, the fibers are used, these are the wood fibers and textile fibers which are used as raw material in the paper manufacturing industries. Okay, so this is another use of fibers. So what if you're asked about the uses of fiber yielding plants, then you can of course write all of this. Okay, so since we have cotton and jute, so cotton is also known as karpas or kapas in Hindi, and they might be known by different regional names. So I don't know, can anyone help me that what is cotton known as in Sikkim? Is there any specific name?
Rui.
Sorry,
Rui.
Rui. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, dear. So, right, it's a very sweet name. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it is the oldest and the greatest industrial crop in the of the world. So, like cotton has been used since ages. all of us know, and it is used for different purpose. Maybe from right away from the right away from the clothing industry to the, it is used as first aid. We use it for application of medicines also. So cotton is a lot universally used, and you can see it has no replacement, because it's been no other thing which has been able to replace the use of cotton. So cotton is very important. So in India, cotton has been in use since 1800 BC. So can you imagine, before Christ also people used to use cotton. So cotton is introduced in Europe from India. So basically it has originated from India by Arabian, and the word cotton has been derived from the Arabic term kutan. Okay, right. So now we are not going into so much detail, but for you to know that some of the varieties of cotton that we should be remembering, or rather species, there are four distinct species. Cotton, okay, so the scientific name of cotton is, the genus is Gossypium. Okay, so cotton falls under the genus Gossypium. So remember this, and it is under the family Malvaceae. You can note it down somewhere, or I will definitely provide this to you, so you can, you are anyway getting the material. So it belongs to Gossypium genus of the Malvaceae family. So there are four species here which we are talking about. One is Gossypium arboreum, Gossypium herbaceum, Gossypium hirsutum, okay, and Gossypium arboreum variety nadum. Okay. So Gossypium arboreum, see, since we have a general account, so what do we have? Morphology, extraction, use in the syllabus. Okay. So morphology wise, you can see here that Gossypium arboreum is, it's a diploid species, and it's actually the source of desi cotton in India. So that's actually most of the cotton that we use and we buy is actually extracted from Gossypium arboreum. So that is the primary species, which is very important. So you must remember it. So its staple is coarse, very short, but very strong. Okay. The cotton is probably the first to be used commercially. So definitely Gossypium arboreum has a lot of commercial significance. So if you are asked a question like which cotton species is commercially popular, your answer should be Gossypium arboreum. Okay. So it's so definitely about the morphological feature. It's a perennial tree. Leaves are palmately lobed. Write it down in points so that it's easier for you to remember. But if you want me to provide you that, I will also do the same. So flowers are axillary, large, solitary, and so what I suggest is you read the morphological characters, make points of it, and say you try to remember 10 points. So if you remember more points, even for exam, if you forget some of them, so if asked to write like 3 to 5 features of this plant, then at least if you try to remember more, then you will forget some, so you will remember at least some. Okay, so that's the strategy that you should be following. So read more, so that because it's natural human thing that some of that will wipe off from your head because there's so much to study. But then if you read more, at least some you will remember, and that would be fine. Okay. So the calyx is cupular. So it's fine. You just remember the calyx is 5-toothed. There are 5 petals. They're joined at the base in the form of a cone. Okay. So I will be showing you pictures. But for this, so this part, like unit 5, I will actually take some time. But I'm just doing the basics of some of them, so that in the exams you might get very short answers. So don't expect in the next exam, don't expect big answers, questions from this part. But then you can expect some short questions. Okay. Like I said that which is the most commercially popular species of cotton, so you can say it's Gossypium arboreum. Okay, so if you can here also the ovary is 5-chambered, stamens are numerous, and the fruit is capsule type. Okay. Just know that, I think it is sufficient. Gossypium herbaceum is the next species that we are talking about here. This is also diploid. There are around 26 chromosomes in both Arborium as well as Herbaceum. So this is there. And then in India, these species have been growing since ages. So mostly carpets, blankets, a lot of these are made from Gossypium herbaceum. So regarding the morphology, the plant is actually, it's shrub in nature. The leaves are corded, flowers are yellow. Okay, and here also the capsule is ovate, globose, mucronate. Okay, so much of detail is not required. I am teaching you from a book because you will find a lot of information here. So whichever is important, you will feel you can, whichever it is easier for you to remember, you remember only that, but you study everything. I suggest you study everything, because anyway some of that you will not remember. So if you study less, then you will forget everything. But if you study more, then at least if you even remember 60% of the thing, it will be sufficient. Okay, you get my point? Okay. So Gossypium herbaceum, I'm not going into the details now. Gossypium hirsutum is another, but the difference is Gossypium hirsutum is a tetraploid species. So you can note down the question that suppose it's if asked that name a tetraploid cotton species, your answer should be Gossypium hirsutum. Okay, right. So, and tetraploid means like basic chromosome number into 4. Tetra means 4. So if diploid is 26, 2n is 26. So tetraploid means n into 4, that is 2n plus 2n plus 2n, that is 26 plus 26, which is 52. Okay, that way you can remember. So like if you remember that 2n is 26 in case of diploids, in case of tetraploid it is double of that. So in Gossypium hirsutum there are 52 chromosomes. Okay. Okay, so is it little difficult for you to, because is the pace okay, or should I go slow? Is it okay, students?
Yes, ma'am.
It's okay for you to follow, no? See, I will be anyway
Yes, ma'am.
repeating unit 5. Okay, but some of them you might get short questions. That is why I'm just touching on the major things here. We will again be doing this. Okay. So Gossypium arboreum variety nadum is also there. So this is not very important. This is another tetraploid species. So you can skip this. Okay. So there are different varieties of cotton. So then we have, so morphology is more or less I have done. So regarding the uses, we have already covered the uses of cotton. So I'm sure all of you can write it because it's very common. And so this is there. Okay, so much of it is not required. Okay, so regarding the extraction, I will be providing this in the form of, I will provide a short material for this so that you don't get confused, like because this has a lot of information because this is the book. Okay, so you do not need to know everything, but I will provide you a short note so that it's easier for you to follow. Regarding the harvesting means how it is obtained or extracted from the plant. Okay. So cotton is harvested in 3 or 4 pickings. So they are basically hand picked. So you will see that people pick it, like the traditional method is hand picking, but nowadays people use, like in the industrial scale, people use machines, huge machines, but it's best to hand pick. So there are 3 or 4 pickings after the maturity of the balls. So they are the cotton balls we call. Okay. So when the fruiting is there, so the fruit, it splits and the cotton is comes out. So I will show you. Maybe we can share a video, YouTube video of that, and we can see in our next class that how the cotton harvesting is done. So it will be interesting to see. So I'm just covering the basics of it as of now. So there is all fruits and vegetables, they have a particular harvesting season. Okay. So for cotton, The harvesting is usually starting in October and it ends in March or April. Okay. So this is also important. So when you are going to for cultivation purpose, for harvesting, or for harvesting means again to collect. Okay, so to collect the material, so for industrial use or whatever, for your personal use, whatever. So harvest means to collect it in large quantity, okay, from the plant, to extract the required material from the plant in large quantity. Okay, so this is done in the month of October. From October, during more or less the winter months, it is done. Okay. So just if you remember that it's done during winter months, you will more or less remember that the winter months are really early. You know, it's from October to March, April. So that way you can remember. So you know, it will be easier for you. So this is all for extraction. We will not be doing, you know, much details about the extraction process. For you to know, it is just we will show you a video maybe of the extraction process. So for cotton, this much is sufficient. Okay. So then we have jute, but I think for now we will keep it at cotton. And in case I'm just noting it down, so cotton is the basics of cotton, you should be remembering. Then we also have jute, but for now I think it will be too much if I go into jute, and it will be confusing for you also. So see, I think I'm just closing this. Okay. Just a second. Have I taken the attendance? I'll just save the attendance once. Okay. So students, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So did you follow the class? So unit 4 is done. Okay. So Anand sir has completed from unit 1 to 3, and then I had taken up unit 4. So unit 4 is primarily very important for you now, and unit 5, like just the cotton part, you can, you know, you can just go through the, you know, this recording. So anyone who gets the recording, please share it as soon as possible so that the rest of the class can, you know, see. And so is it fine? Could you follow class? Fine, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
okay. Okay, so thank you, class. I think you have a class after this, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So like what you can do is you